Hello and welcome to video 5. This is me learning how to use the Teenage Engineering Medieval EP-1320 and passing on to you all my tricks and tips as I do so. And it's the usual thing at the beginning of this video. I'm just going to mop up a couple of things from my previous one. I was talking about how to use the fader at the end of the last video and how to record the fader movements, and I got into a little bit of a muddle with it, so I'm just going to clear that up first of all. I've got this little 4-bar pattern. Let's just have a listen to this. Okay, so that's that, and if I press the fader button down, you can see that I've got the modus effect, which is the modulation effect. So if I just press play and crank this, you'll hear the sound get very wobbly. I'll bring it back, and so if I move that up there and leave it there, that's great. If I hold Arturia and fader, that's cleared that now. That's stopped that wobble. And obviously if I bring it back up, we'll get that effect back. So let's just clear that, make sure that's set back to 0. So just to be clear, Arturia and fader resets any fader movements, and Arturia and fader deletes any fader recordings. So let's see if we can record a little bit of that modus effect into a couple of places in that 4-bar pattern. Everything's reset. The fader is assigned to the modus, so here we go. So you can hear that that modus effect has been applied to a couple of places in that 4-bar pattern. Let's change the assignment of the fader. Let's go to something like Pocus, and what have we got on this? We've got echo. Let's change that to reverb. And this time I'll jab the fader up and down where I want some reverb on the pattern. I need to reset the fader. The fader is set to Pocus and the Pocus effect is reverb. So here we go. So you can now hear that I've got reverb and I've got the modulation effect a couple of times in that pattern, and that's actually printed to the track. Now if I reset the fader by holding Arturia and fader, I'll still have those two effects on the track. Have a listen. If I want to delete those effects from that track, I have to now hold Arturia and fader till it says delete. Now when I play it, no effects have been applied by the fader. So yeah, it was not terribly clear in my last video, so apologies for that, but hopefully that's cleared it up. So it's very important when you're recording fader movements to bring the fader back once you've applied what you want, otherwise you'll have it all the way through. A little bit confusing. Right, the next subject I want to deal with is Midi, so we're going to reset the camera for this. Okay, so I'm using my Arturia Keystep 37 as a mother keyboard here. I've plugged a normal Midi cable into the back of this, into Midi out, and I've gone into the Midi in of the Medieval, which is just out of shot, but it's a TRS. It looks like a stereo mini jack, but it's a type A. You must get a type A. So this is a Midi to TRS cable, but type A. So unless you use one of those, it won't work. Now the Medieval receives on all Midi channels, so it's simplicity itself. I've got the Keystep set to Midi channel 1, but it doesn't really matter. I just play the course the joy of using a mother keyboard like this is you can play chromatically. It doesn't matter what the scale is set on the medieval. If you don't set this to claves, then you just get the middle C here. So make sure you set this to claves, to keys if you like, and then you can play all the notes on the medieval that are available. So good. You can play chords. So let's just do some recording on this. Right, silly pattern, but I've used lots of chromatic notes there. Yeah, so it records everything you play on the mother keyboard, which is great. Let's just erase that because that's not very musical, is it? Let's assign some very different sounds here. I've got 12 pads and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So now if I wanted to record something into this, I could just play these different pads. So I've got all those different sounds. It's a mess, but you get the idea. You can record all the different sounds assigned to the pads into one pattern. Yeah, again, not terribly musical, but you see the point. Again, let's just erase that, shall we? So that's using the Arturia Keystep as a mother keyboard. And of course the sounds are touch sensitive over MIDI, which is great, isn't it? Let's use my Teenage Engineering OPXY now. So again, I'm going to reset the camera. So as you can now see, I've got the Teenage Engineering OPXY in the picture and I've MIDI'd it to the medieval. So I'm just using a normal stereo mini jack, nothing special, not A or B, just something that I use for audio, coming out of the OPXY and into the MIDI in of the Teenage Engineering. Yeah, it works really well. And you can do that, or you can use a type A at both ends. So I'm going to press the second button in. You'll see this button here, 3, has got a MIDI socket icon. Let's have a look at the MIDI setup here. Go to COM, System, MIDI. I don't know if you can see this, but under COM, MIDI, Notes, you've got to set this to out. And I'll set the clock to out as well. Okay, so now I can play all these different sounds on here. That's great, but you've got to remember to set notes out on this, otherwise it won't trigger the notes in the medieval. So if I turn the claves on, now I'll just have that one sound played chromatically. Which obviously you can record using this now. I won't bother to do that at the moment. And of course, because this is a touch sensitive instrument, just like the Arturia, then the medieval sounds are touch sensitive over MIDI, which is great. Now the good thing about this is that the medieval can be powered from this. So if I had a USB plug coming out of this into this, then this would be powered from this. The medieval will be powered from the OPXY. So let's just set the clock on this now. So let's go to Altero and System. I'm going to set the clock. MIDI, intra, clock. We want this to be set to in, so it's being received. So now with the medieval set the way it is and the MIDI clock set to out on the OPXY, I can trigger the medieval from the OPXY. It's a bit fast. Let's go to the metronome. We'll just turn this down to something sensible like that. Press play. And now if I change the tempo, the Teenage Engineering medieval will slow down or speed up. So now the clock on the OPXY is set to be the master clock to the medieval. And don't forget, on the OPXY, everything is found under the COM. So COM, system, MIDI, clock, notes, etc. And you can do it the other way very easily. I won't bore you to death with that, but you get the idea. It's all very doable. If you change groups on the Medieval, then the OPXY will automatically pick up those new sounds. It's not a problem. Let's do it the other way around now. Let's play some notes on the OPXY from the Medieval. So now I'm coming MIDI out from the Medieval to MIDI in of the OPXY. But I'm going to turn the Medieval down. I'm just going to change the pulses here, the tempo. And now I've set this to MIDI out. This is set to MIDI in clockwise. So now sorry, it's just coming out the little speaker on the OPXY, but this is triggering this now. I've gone into, let's just show you this, Arturia and Sonus. I'm on MIDI, and the pulses control changes the channel. So channel 2, channel 3 is the bass. So as I go to the different channels, you can see that I'm triggering different sounds on the 8 tracks of the OPXY. Channel 9, interestingly, this triggers different brain notes. So if I press play on the Medieval, so I go to the brain, which is here. I don't know if you'll see this, but anyway, if I set this going, A minor, B Locrian, C major. It keeps fighting it because it's playing different notes. So as I press different pads on the Medieval, it's changing the different modes in the brain of the OPXY. And if you haven't got an OPXY, that won't mean much to you. So basically, the two will talk to each other really, really well. You just need a normal stereo mini jack cable, nothing fancy at all. Just swap them around, and it's very, very simple. Let's go back to channel 3 where the bass was. If the claves are turned off, you'll only get one note, so make sure claves are turned on. Obviously you'll only get the notes in the scale that the Medieval is set to, but it's actually playing this sound here. Obviously quite a high octave, so let's just change the octave. That's actually a D, isn't it? The Medieval is set to G major, so that's a G there, see? That G there. But you can change the scale on this and it will pick out different notes on the OPXY. You can plug a USB lead in to the data socket here on the Medieval and to the USB socket on the OPXY, and they'll talk to each other via MIDI like that. And the Medieval will be powered from the OPXY as long as the OPXY has got enough juice in the battery. So that's the end of today's video. If you got something from it, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you want to give me a bit of a helping hand and encourage me to carry on doing what I do here, then please make a donation either here on YouTube or preferably on my website, which is www.daddylongles.com. Thank you very much for watching, and you'll see me in my next video.